Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. It's kind of interesting because I think for some reason I have this idea that no one watches my channel anymore. And so I'm like, should I even bother posting? But then I'm like, and then I get messages from people saying, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, oopsie. So obviously some people are still watching. And so I'm gonna still do videos, but I'm not doing them as often as I did them before, because I just don't want to put content out just for the sake of it. I want to do it so that I want to talk about something that I really care about. So this is a brief spiel on what's going on right now. I recently visited Hanoi in Vietnam and Penang in Malaysia, and I'm going to go to Taipei in January because I'm trying to find a new place to move to. I like Bali. It's been great. It's been 3 years. I think it's more than enough time in one country. I think it's time to explore another country, another culture, and so I'm kind of trying to find a different place to live in. So obviously, I'm going to all these different countries. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cough from all the traveling. Not that I'm complaining. First world problems, really, seriously. Anyways, so I go to all these countries, and of course, I'm going in as a tourist a little bit because I also want to see the countries. I've never been to these countries before, and maybe yes, I'll move there. Maybe I won't. I don't think I'll move to Hanoi though. It's too busy and too crowded. But it was a really nice city though. Really, really nice. Penang I really liked. The food was so good. Oh my gosh. I go into these countries, and so I'm mostly staying in hostels because they're cheap and they're perfect. You can get like a tiny private room usually for $30-40 a night, or you can do a dorm for like $10 a night. It's really great, and I don't mind. I'm not really. I literally go back to the hotel to sleep. Usually, I'm out all day long when I'm traveling. I'm walking from place to place at a cafe, eating different foods, sitting by the lake in Hanoi and just watching the water, or sitting in Penang by the ocean and just sitting and watching the water, or watching people. There's just a lot of things to do, and so really I don't mind. And so, but I will hang out or like see other people when I'm at these hostels. Mostly younger people, obviously, in their 20s or even in their early 20s or late teens, or in their 20s in general, maybe even the 30s, but younger, much younger. And the way they travel is so much different from the way I travel that I sometimes look at them and I'm like, obviously there's different ways of traveling and there's no like good or right or wrong, but I always look at them, the way they travel, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I should be traveling like that. Like, they're actually seeing a lot, they're doing a lot, they're moving around a lot, they're exploring a lot more than I do. The way I travel, and I think this is the way INFJs travel in general, it's because there's so many different reasons for it, but also because we have different priorities. For me, seeing as many sites as possible to check them off a list, or to see as much of the country as possible, is not a priority because I know I'll come back eventually. And if I don't, then I don't really mind as much not seeing all of the different sites, because you can't really, like, in 2 weeks or 10 days, like, you can't see everything. It's not possible. And so I'd rather take it slow. I'd rather go at my own pace. And mostly in a lot of cases, INFJs are more about, I feel, as looking from my perspective, I'm a little bit more about the culture and the people and the food, the way they live. I want to observe the people. I sit down a lot of times in cafes and restaurants. I just watch people. I watch the locals. How do they eat? What do they do? How do they hang out? How do they spend time with their children? How do they walk around? What do they do? What do they buy? What kind of food do they shop for? I'll go to the grocery store and I'll observe them. I'll go to a cafe and observe them. I'll go, at a place where, for example, they have no car days on certain days in certain cities. Mostly in a lot of Asian cities, they do that because there's just so much pollution, and they want to give their citizens a chance to enjoy the city without all of this smoke in their face. And so I know that Thailand has that too. On certain streets, no cars. I know here in Indonesia they have that too, in Denpasar, in Bali. In Hanoi they had that too, right next to the lake. It's really nice. No cars at all. You can walk around the lake. Really nice walk. Really beautiful. And so I'll go to these places and I'll just sit and watch the people. I'll watch the locals. Really, I want to see what their life is about. Is it very different from the way I live? A little bit probably, but what do they do? How do they do it? Like, what do they eat? How do they speak to their children? Like, all of that stuff, like, it's just so fascinating to me. It's probably a lot has to do with the fact that it's just something perhaps maybe I'll use for my books eventually. But more than that, I just find it a lot more interesting to watch people and their behaviors than to watch a site, like a building. Like, a lot of people will be going around and looking at all the architecture, and yeah, beautiful buildings, blah blah blah, okay, great. But I'm standing there in front of these monuments, and I think to myself, yeah, okay, but like, there's no fascination in me for that. Perhaps I'm not a history buff because of that, or I have no idea why. But I do notice, like, I'll just be standing there, like, yeah, okay. And then I'll turn and look at the people who are watching the monument. I'll be like, ooh, this is more interesting. And so obviously, maybe it's a human thing, maybe it's an INFJ thing, I have no idea. But for me, this is the way I travel. I'll do a lot more people watching, a lot more eating of foods and trying out different things like that, rather than going from monument to monument looking at things. I don't take pictures either, so for me, I guess that also is one of the reasons I don't care. Maybe people go to monuments or sites because they want to take pictures and put them on Instagram, and I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore because I've realized it's a waste for me. I don't like it. I don't want to do it anymore. Because it really distracts me from the moment. Like, I do not want to be constantly thinking about, oh, I'm going to put this picture here and people are going to like it. It just really distracts me. I know other people are fine with it, but I just can't do it anymore. So I don't take pictures. And so a lot of times when I'll be sitting there looking at a site, I can't really focus. I can't really feel like it's something that I'm interested in. But I should say that it's not the same when I'm looking at natural sites. So I could sit and look at a tree, like a beautiful big tree, forever. I could sit and look at the mountain forever. Like, there's a mountain in Penang encrusted with trees, like it's covered with trees, yeah? And I just sat there and looked at the tree covered mountain forever. And same thing in Chiang Mai, they have like a beautiful mountain in the middle of this, at the edge of the city, and then they have a temple on top of the mountain. And that mountain, like, when I would sit and I would see the mountain, I would just sit and watch it forever. For some reason, natural sites for me, I can watch forever. Like the ocean, I could sit and watch the ocean forever. A fire, I could watch that forever, like natural sites, natural enough. I can just do that forever. That's fine with me. That's almost the same to me as watching people. So trees, particularly, if there's a beautiful tree, I could just literally sit there and watch it forever. It's so perfect. And in Penang, they had so many big, like, huge trees, old trees, that I was just in heaven. I would just sit there and, like, these trees, man, they were just they had so much character. They were so beautiful. And so I just sat and watched, the leaves rustling, the branches moving, and then the clouds above it. It was just so beautiful. The sunlight streaming through it. It was perfection. Also, they have this beautiful botanical garden in Penang. Really, really nice. Right at the edge of the rainforest. Just really well done. I was actually quite impressed with it. And so there's a river that moves through it, a little creek. And again, I just sat there by the creek. My feet were in the water. I sat and I just watched the water, and 2 hours passed by. I didn't even realize that time had passed by. The water was just so perfect. It was nice and cool, and it was hot outside, so I'm like nice and cool with the water on my feet, and the breeze is nice, and I'm just watching the water. And there's a couple of water spiders, or those things that, yeah, some insect that it just like glides on the water, and they were just like gliding back and forth on the water, and I just sat and watched them, right? And 2-3 hours passed by, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, and I look at the time. I'm like, oh wow, time's passed by. And so that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to me. Of course, I'm sure everyone's gonna be like, you went all the way to Penang just to sit in a river and look at some spiders. Seems like a waste of time and money. But for me, I've realized, okay, and this has taken me a long while, because in the beginning, I'd also be like running around. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna check this side off, and I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna check this side off, I'm gonna travel here. And I used to do that, and I found it really tiring and exhausting, and actually not enjoyable at all. I really didn't care to see all these sites. I just saw them because they were on the list. And now I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. And so what I did is literally what I said. I sat and watched people. I ate a lot of food. I walked around a lot in botanical gardens and in the parks. And I looked at trees and I looked at the water, and somehow time passed by and it was perfect. Yeah. And so again, I'm kind of really curious to know, is this how you travel as well? And I'm really curious to know if this is an INFJ thing or is just a me thing. But I'm really guessing it's an INFJ thing because, again, our priorities are very different compared to other people. And also, even though our priorities might be different, other people might not understand it. We still are able to go along with it because we're like, we don't care a lot of times of what other people are thinking of us, right? In a lot of cases. I'm not saying all the time, but in a lot of cases. And so yeah, please comment below and let me know, how do you travel? What is your travel style like? What do you do when you travel? Do you go around a lot and check off all the lists, or do you sit and watch people and eat a lot of food? I'd love to know. So comment below. And again, thank you so much for listening, for waiting for my videos. I know I'm a little bit lazy right now. I've just been moving around a lot, and also as I said, I really want to do videos that I care about. So I haven't had really any topic creep up that I was like, I really want to talk about this. Anyways, again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being on my channel. I shall see you the next time around. Bye for now.